Hey there, Plow and Pantry peeps. Today is an easy Crocktober recipe for you. It's pretty close to dump and go, almost there. I'm making a taco soup, our family's way. Taco soup is not a new recipe, but in our house, if I make soup, it had better be hearty. Otherwise, my husband isn't that interested. So I make this thick and filling like a stew, and if you're a fan of Rachel Ray back in the day, she coined the term Stoup. Thinner than a stew, but thicker than a soup is what that means. That's what this is. And it was a great day to make this. The weather had finally gotten cool enough for soup around here, and this recipe helped me pull several items from the freezer. That worked well for me since I'm also doing the Crocktober freezer challenge this month. If you're not familiar with that, I'll put my last video update in an iCard here so you can check it out. But basically, I'm trying to use up stuff in my deep freezer to make space for other things. And today I used a couple of pounds of ground beef as well as a few bags of frozen cooked beans. This recipe is in my cookbook, and that's always linked below in the description box. And in that version I use canned beans, which you can totally use here. But since I had cooked beans in my freezer and I'm using that stuff up, that's what I went with today. In my cookbook I call for 2 cans of pinto beans and a can of kidney beans, but today I ended up using a bag of kidney beans, a bag of pinto beans, and a bag of black beans, and that's all good. They all go well with taco soup, it's fine. Also, I have this recipe on my blog, so I will link the post with the printable in the description box below, so you can print that out if you'd like it. So I started by browning up 2 pounds of ground beef there. That's really the only thing you have to cook before you put it in the crock pot. Technically, you don't have to do that either because it will cook in there, but I think personally, browning it ahead makes a big difference in texture and how the overall flavor comes out, so I always do that. Since I had to chop an onion anyways for this, I went ahead and added it to the ground beef along with some salt and pepper as it browned. You don't have to do that, you can just add it straight in the slow cooker, but again, I just like the texture of the onions better when they brown up a bit with the beef. While it's browning, I open up my cans so they're ready. Once the meat is ready, I get it into the slow cooker and I start dumping in the rest of the ingredients. I add cans of diced tomatoes, a can of green chilies. I also add taco seasoning and ranch seasoning. I make these, and I can link the video where I showed you my recipes for that, and there are also printables of those on my blog. But you can also use a store-bought packet of taco seasoning and a store-bought packet of ranch. Do whatever you need to. And at the end, I add a little bit of oregano to it. The beans go in from my freezer bag as well as the tomato products and the other stuff. Sometimes I get questions about the frozen beans. As an adult, before I had my own pressure canner, that is how I saved money by using dried beans, but having the convenience of canned beans. I would cook up a large batch of dry beans and freeze them in 2-cup packs, and I would use those in place of canned beans in recipes. So this all goes in the crock pot on low for about 4 hours. It's pretty forgiving in time variations because the meat is cooked. You really just need it heated through, but letting it go longer helps the flavors just get a little more complex as they blend together. There's also some variation to account for in different crock pots. My last one always needed a longer cooking time, but this one is a bit hotter, I think, and cooks faster. But you could go up to 6 hours if you needed to. At this point, I just stir it and serve. We like to create a toppings bar, kind of similar to a taco toppings bar, because it's taco soup. I like shredded cheese, sour cream, avocado, green onion, a squeeze of lime or lemon, and we either use tortilla chips or corn chips for a little bit of crunch. Goes well with it. Sometimes I even like to put lettuce in, which might sound weird for a soup, but when you think about tacos, it makes sense. There you have my take on a simple and fairly common dish that you can throw in ahead of time and have ready when you're tired and hungry at the end of the day. One of my subscribers actually mentioned that she likes to put things in the crock pot early in the day, and that is the main meal, and lunch is lunchtime for her and her husband, and then they eat a lighter meal later, and I love that idea. If I eat a large lunch for like a special event or something, I usually only want a small dinner or a large snack at dinner. And I think as I have aged, my digestive system actually prefers that too. So I thought that was a great idea. I hope you guys are all enjoying your Crocktober and the changing of the seasons. I'm going to try to get one more Crocktober video in before the end of the month, but we are cutting it close here, so it might just be a random crock pot meal in November. It's never a bad time to use a slow cooker, am I right? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope your day is getting better than expected as the moments go by. If you like these kinds of videos, consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that like button, and I hope to see you on the next one.